As we've seen, the rule of thirds works well for images that are in landscape format, and the diamond guide works well when creating images that are in portrait format. It might seem as though your composition is completely defined by how you place your canvas at the very beginning of a piece. If you place it landscape, it means using the rule of thirds. If you place it portrait, then you'll be using the diamond guide. That is a good way of working, but I also want you to be open to a greater amount of fluidity and experimentation. A decision that's made at the beginning of creating a piece doesn't necessarily have to define that piece of artwork forever. I'm going to suggest a method for using the diamond guide and the rule of thirds in the same piece of artwork. In this lecture, I'll explain how. Artists will often analyse their artwork by turning it upside down. It helps them to check the composition and see the piece in a fresh way. We can become so focused on the details of a piece of work that we can struggle to get a new perspective. Some artists will use a mirror to look at their paintings. This is something that Leonardo da Vinci suggests in his notebooks. He says that when you use a mirror to look at your work, it creates the impression that you're looking at someone else's paintings. And it becomes a useful method for judging your own paintings. I've noticed this too. Sometimes you need to see a piece from a different angle and trick yourself into believing that you're seeing the piece for the first time. Artists adopt many techniques to analyse their work. Rotating the canvas can be a method for analysing your work, and it can be a part of your artistic process. I've known artists who would rotate their canvas, or they would pace around the piece as it lay stretched out on the floor. This is a method that is mainly adopted by abstract artists. They would aim for a more fluid approach and then decide on the orientation of the piece later. When you're creating a piece of artwork, everything doesn't need to be done in a specific order. You don't have to begin a piece by choosing whether it's going to be in portrait format or landscape format. You can do that later on. Because we have the freedom to rotate a canvas, we also have the luxury of using the diamond guide and the rule of thirds together. We can't use them in the exact same moment, but we can use them both in the same piece of artwork. When the image is in landscape format, we can use the rule of thirds, and when it's in portrait format, we can use the diamond guide.